That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Okay, here we are again, and for trades this week, we have Red Knight, A Knight Without a Sword. This is a comic book series. It's independent. Very independent kind of week. Or not super independent, I guess. I mean, IDW, but it's very not the two companies kind of week. This is an independent series done by one Mr. Justin Cristelli, aka The Real Manos, here on YouTube. And you can go check out his channel and get some really great videos from Manos. And he's also on Geekvolution a lot now as well. Yeah, he publishes his own comic book series called Red Knight. It used to be through Primal Paper Comics. I believe it's now Dead West Comics, if I'm remembering correctly. So you can get the current issues of that as they come out, or you can follow him on DeviantArt to read the scripting, or the stories in prose form. And I got this a while ago. He did a Indiegogo thing to try to raise money to get a trade published, and he got it colorized, and it looks great colorized, by the way. So he started up a whole thing to get the trade published, yada yada, and I was really glad to help support that, and I got the trade out of it. And it's just really freaking cool that, you know, someone I know is writing comics, and writing comics pretty damn well, if I do say so myself. JC Grande does the art, and I'll get into how I feel about the art, but just, it's a really cool, fun, independent book, and it's a comic book fan's comic book, if that makes sense, or a superhero fan's comic book, because it's very aware of the tropes and the ideas, and it's kind of like, interestingly enough, this feels like it could potentially be set in one of the big two universes to some extent or another. There's a particular really important plot point related to the rest of the world, in that if you have superpowers, you have to be registered with the government in order to be able to be a superhero, and if you're registered with the government, they decide where you work. And that makes sense. That's an interesting idea, and it's played with, but that means some of the smaller cities don't get to have superheroes, which, I mean, to be fair, in comics, how many small cities have superheroes? Spider-Man could never be Spider-Man in Fort Wayne. He would have like 3 buildings downtown on lock, and that's it. Everyone else would just be able, you do any crime you want down on Anthony Boulevard or out in Georgetown Place, and no one could do shit about it. Spider-Man at least couldn't do a goddamn thing about it. He'd be like, well, I could swing and chase him, but I can't really, there aren't a ton of buildings for me to get to, so I'm kind of just on my feet. So, certainly there don't exist, you wouldn't have to, I guess, have it be that kind of law. You could just potentially have a hero who wants to operate in his own fairly small town, but that's neither here nor there. This is just about the story itself. I'm just saying, I could see this fitting in with some of those bigger universes and working well as just a nice little aside thing. But I do really like this book, and it's written with so much heart. It takes the idea of, okay, we exist in a world with just a shit ton of superheroes, too many for people to count. What is it like to live there? And so we open this book with 2 kids looking through a telescope at the sky, and they see a superhero fly over. And it's a predictable pattern for that guy to go, because that's his route home or whatever. And just, I don't know, I really like that. And they have this conversation about just wanting to go out and fight bad guys, but, like, they don't really understand what bad guys are. They don't understand what superheroes are. And it's like this conversation between 12-year-olds. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. And it's just frustrating. And it's a boy and a girl, and they're sitting there yelling at each other because they don't really understand the issues. And then it gets kind of awkward and they kiss. And I really like how real that feels. That's just a very realistic portrayal of just youth, and so it's a heightened world of comic booky weirdness, but it's also the people in it still feel very real. And then, yeah, just there's some great interactions here in the beginning. I'm going to try not to summarize every detail, but I just really like how it starts that way. What else goes on? Yeah, I don't want to get into the details. I really like Todd, Todd McLean. He's just a really... Did I get that right? I hope I got the last name right. Yeah, Todd McLean. He's just a really neat character who's just got, he's got the heart for it. He just wants to be involved, and that's really neat. And Martha Brown's just a really cool, badass cop lady detective. She's tired of this bullshit she has to deal with, and she's tired of the fact that she doesn't get to have that her town isn't worthy of a superhero, and that their super villain budget is, bare minimum. And the reason that they have a super villain budget is Norfolk, Virginia is like a small enough town that supervillains use it to lay low and lick their wounds whenever they get their ass kicked by a hero in a major city. And so they have a supervillain problem there, but they're not important enough to have superheroes. So that's why she's kind of cool with Todd being Red Knight doing his thing. And she's going to train him how to actually fight because he has superpowers, but he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. I don't know, it's just really neat. I like the idea of driving around town not knowing what the hell's going on. The supervillains are written really well. The art style is really interesting in this. It's got a very sketchy but a really neat look to it. Go back to that first page of this issue. There's a grimy but charming nature to some of this art. It's got like a pointed anime kind of look at times, but it's very Western still. It's just really neat how this all looks. Man, I really fucking like this. This is really cool. Yeah, just generally I really like this book. I don't want to give away any of the story because I just... it's been out for a long time. But you can go read this yourself, and this is something you should be reading yourself. The covers are fucking gorgeous, by the way. And I like how the characters are written. They just interact really well. I will say, I think it does get a bit wordy at times. It feels like there's more paragraph on the page than there is art. That's not like the worst thing ever. It's just, I kind of like some things to just be, it's just the dialogue could be tightened up a little bit. Like, here's a good example. There's this guy with some kind of energy powers. He's running toward Todd. You hear that, Cracker? I'm gonna fry your ass. All you got is strength. That ain't nothing compared to what I got. I can suck up energy of all types. I can take electricity, some other chump's power, maybe even magic. There ain't any kind of energy I can't drain. How about kinetic? What? And then Red Knight punches him. Nice powers. It seems that your only weakness is a punch to the face. Like, I really like that scene. That's a fun scene, but it's just a really, really wordy scene for someone to say. It's really a lot of words for someone to say in the middle of a fight. So we have a lot of build-up for a really great quip, but it's still supposed to be a quick quip in the middle of a fight. And so it feels really wordy at times. Just you can look at the dialogue balloons on some of these pages and just see how much information we're getting. So, I don't know, I feel like there's a way to just give the exact same amount of information but do it with fewer words. So, that's something I think that could use work on this. And to be fair, it's in a ton of comics. Again, just there's a lot of dialogue on each page, and I don't mind a lot of dialogue. If it's more direct dialogue, I don't mind it. I don't like when someone talks in a whole paragraph, because I just don't find that to be wholly realistic. But at the same time, I like the characters and just the interactions so much that I don't care. It's just cool. And I'm sure that Manos himself will improve on that as time goes on. And then we get like a backup story here that's just kind of, gives you an idea of this world that Red Knight is living in, and how he feels about wanting to be a superhero. And it's done by a different artist, I'm pretty sure. But it's just really cool stuff. This backup issue is actually a pretty good way to just, I feel, get into the comic, or make you want to read the comic. You might think this is a bit much of an idea, but I'll throw this out there. I almost think this backup issue should be something that's either available for free, or maybe if you could talk Milan into making a motion comic out of that. I'm pretty sure that would help get some views on it, and just get some more circulation. And even the dialogue, or even the monologue boxes are a bit wordy too. But again, that's just something that happens. I'm sure that it can be improved. That's really my only major complaint. I love all these variant covers in the back. Like, each one of these is a poster on its own. They look great. It's just really freaking cool. So yeah, I highly recommend picking this up. And the second volume just came out, which is why I decided to start talking about this now. Second volume just came out. That'll be probably on next week's show, if I get time to read it at work, yada yada. But I highly, highly enjoyed this. It is just a comic fan's comic. I do have one other complaint. Give me a sec. I gotta go grab a book. Okay. So here is a standard size comic book trade. And here is Red Knight Volume 1. That's driving me crazy on my shelf. That is legitimately messing with all of my OCD. That they're not the same size. That legitimately pisses me off. I stuck it on my shelf. I'm like, why is it not flush with all the others? It must be flush with all the others. I'm cut through this much of the book and just erg. That's very, very troublesome. That is the worst thing about this book, is that it is not the same size as other comic books. But what can you do? I guess I could put it with my hardcovers. But yeah, great trade. I'm pretty sure this is still available. I'm pretty sure he's still got a couple of these kicking around, so it's definitely worth picking up. He did an Indiegogo, like I said, to get it colorized and distributed, and the colors look great. I am damn disappointed that I'll say at the beginning, I am damn disappointed that Volume 2 is not colorized, but what can you do? Really great book, though. I highly enjoy this. It's just fun. It's just got so much heart. you just can't help but smile while you read it, and I really love that about it.
That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.